The American Revolutionary period is one of the most exciting and difficult eras in American genealogy. Many researchers dream of discovering Revolutionary War ancestors' DAR eligibility, Patriot service, or colonial roots tied to the founding generation of the United States. But researching this period requires much more than simply finding a name on a patriotic list. In this presentation, we'll discuss the historical context of the American Revolution, common records used in Revolutionary War research, how to separate fact from family legend, tracing Patriot and Loyalist ancestors, DNA applications, migration patterns, burned counties and missing records, and how to build evidence carefully across generations. One of the first mistakes researchers make is assuming all colonial Americans supported independence. That is absolutely not true. Colonial America was politically divided. Some colonists supported independence and became patriots. Others remained loyal to the British Crown and became Loyalists or Tories. Many ordinary civilians simply tried to survive the chaos of war. Indigenous nations were also deeply affected, with different tribes and confederacies choosing different alliances, depending on survival and political realities. Enslaved Africans were promised freedom by both sides at various times, creating another complicated layer of revolutionary history. Understanding this political and social environment helps us interpret records correctly. One of the biggest genealogy mistakes is trying to leap directly to a famous revolutionary ancestor. Good genealogy moves backward one generation at a time. Every parent-child relationship must be documented. That means birth records, wills, deeds, Bible records, tax records, probate files, and community connections. Colonial genealogy often requires building indirect evidence because formal vital records may not survive. You are building a legal-style case based on accumulated evidence. Revolutionary War research relies heavily on surviving military and civilian records. Military service records may include enlistment dates, rank, unit served, pay vouchers, or militia participation. Pension files are often genealogical goldmines. A widow applying for a pension might list marriage information, children, residences, affidavits from neighbors, or family Bible evidence. Some files contain dozens or even hundreds of pages. Tax records are also extremely important because they help place men of the same name into specific locations and economic classes. Revolutionary pension applications can completely transform a family line. Some veterans applied decades after the war. Widows also applied for benefits after their husbands died. Because applicants needed to prove identity and service, these files sometimes contain extraordinary genealogical evidence. A pension file may reveal where someone was born, where they migrated, when they married, names of children, and testimony from neighbors who personally knew the family. Always obtain the full pension file whenever possible, not just an index. Many researchers assume all Revolutionary soldiers served in the Continental Army under George Washington. In reality, many men served locally through militia systems. Militia service might involve local defense, short-term enlistments, guarding supply routes, scouting, or emergency mobilization. Some individuals supported the war effort through civil roles, transportation, supplies, or political service, rather than battlefield combat. This matters because records vary dramatically depending on the type of service. Colonial women are often difficult to trace because many records focused primarily on men. However, women appear throughout Revolutionary-era documentation if we know where to look. Widow pension applications are especially valuable. Church records can also preserve maiden names, baptisms, marriages, and community relationships. Probate records may identify daughters through inheritance distributions or guardianship cases. Female lines are extremely important in DNA genealogy, especially for mitochondrial DNA research. Many American families have Loyalist ancestors instead of Patriots. After the war, thousands of Loyalists fled the United States. Large numbers relocated to Canada, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, England, or the Caribbean. Some filed detailed compensation claims documenting property losses caused by the Revolution. These claims can contain remarkable genealogical detail. Researchers should avoid emotionally romanticizing one side or another. Our responsibility is to document history accurately. The Revolutionary era was followed by enormous westward migration. After the war, many families pushed into frontier regions seeking land and opportunity. Tracking migration patterns is critical because families often move together in clusters. neighbors, witnesses, and allied families frequently migrated along the same routes. This is where fan club research becomes extremely valuable. The fan club method is one of the most powerful tools in colonial genealogy. If records for your direct ancestor are sparse, surrounding individuals may provide the missing clues. Neighbors often intermarried for generations. Witnesses on deeds or wills may reveal family relationships. Entire migration groups frequently relocated together. Genealogy is rarely solved in isolation. Communities matter. Many Revolutionary-era records no longer survive. Researchers frequently encounter burned counties where courthouse fires destroyed local records. This does not mean the research ends. Good genealogists learn to reconstruct families through alternative evidence. Tax records, land records, church records, and probate from surrounding counties may still survive. Newspapers and federal pension files may fill major gaps. Indirect evidence becomes extremely important in colonial genealogy. DNA can be extremely useful in revolutionary genealogy, but it must be used carefully. Autosomal DNA can help confirm descendant lines through cousin matches. Chromosome mapping and triangulation may help identify inherited segments from colonial ancestors. Y-DNA studies can assist with surname research and direct paternal lines. mtDNA studies help trace direct maternal inheritance. However, DNA does not replace documentation. It works best when combined with traditional genealogy. The Revolutionary Era is surrounded by family legends. Some stories are true, many are not. Genealogists must learn to separate oral tradition from documented evidence. A family story may preserve a clue, but it still requires verification. Always evaluate timelines, locations, historical context, records, and DNA evidence. Good genealogy requires healthy skepticism. Several major organizations and databases specialize in Revolutionary War research. DAR and SAR applications may contain useful lineage documentation, though all evidence should still be independently verified. Fold 3 contains military collections and pension records. The National Archives preserves federal Revolutionary War materials. Family Search offers enormous free collections. Ancestry provides index databases and tree-building tools. Family tree DNA is valuable for advanced Y-DNA and mtDNA testing projects. Researching Revolutionary-era ancestors can be incredibly rewarding, but it also requires patience and discipline. The goal is not simply to prove a patriotic connection. The goal is to reconstruct real human lives within historical context. Good revolutionary genealogy combines records, DNA, historical understanding, and careful evidence analysis. The deeper we research, the more we realize these ancestors lived through extraordinary uncertainty, war, migration, survival, and change. That complexity is what makes genealogy meaningful. Thank you so much for joining me for this presentation on doing genealogy through the American Revolution. In future presentations, we'll continue exploring colonial American genealogy, DNA analysis, migration patterns, indigenous history, military records, chromosome mapping, and advanced genealogical methodology. If you enjoyed this presentation, please like, subscribe, follow, and share.